Hello. Today we are doing pre-calc lesson 90, double angle identities and half angle identities. We are going to be filling in some of the gaps of our identities so that they are fully complete and ready to go. So we have, before we talked about the sine and cosine sum and difference identities. You do need to be memorizing those. They are on your sheet. I want to add another couple of identities. Double angle identities, the sine of 2a is 2 times the sine of a cosine of a, and the cosine of 2a is the cosine squared of a minus the sine squared of a. You'll notice we actually had been developing these before. Not developing, I'm sorry, we used these before. We used it in a couple different homeworks. Now I want to show you how we actually get there. So let's look at the cosine of 2a. We can rewrite this as the cosine of a plus the cosine of a, which we know then is the cosine of a minus sine of a sine of a, which gives us cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a. If you knew your sum identities for cosine, you would be able to develop the cosine double angle identity. Okay, you would actually be able to develop the sine as well, but instead I would like to kind of use something else. Let's develop two more. So here's one, here's two. Let's look at the cosine of 2a. We have the cosine squared of a minus the sine squared of a. Now we have our identity that says the cosine squared of a plus the sine squared of a is 1. So 1 minus the sine squared of a is the cosine squared of a. I'm going to plug that in here. So I will have 1 minus the sine squared of a minus the sine squared of a. And if I simplify this, I have 1 minus 2 sine squared of a. That's actually my third double angle identity. Cosine of 2a is either cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a, or it is 1 minus 2 sine squared of a. And using the same technique, we can say the cosine of 2a is 2 cosine squared of a minus 1. It would be the same thing that we could do if we plugged it in for cosine. These four are new identities. You do need to know them. Okay. Now let's develop the tangent double angle identity. So the tangent of 2a, we know, is saying the sine of 2a over the cosine of 2a, which we now know is 2 sine of a cosine of a over the cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a. Now I'm going to divide every term by the cosine of a, cosine squared of a. So on top I will have 2 sine of a cosine of a divided by cosine of a times cosine of a, all over cosine squared of a over cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a over cosine squared of a. So let's cancel what we can cancel. We can cancel the cosine here, leaving me with 2 sine of a over cosine of a. This becomes a 1 minus sine squared of a over cosine squared of a. Maybe you can see it, but now we have 2 tangent of a over 1 minus tangent squared of a. That is our identity, our double angle identity for tangent of 2a. It's not a squared, it's tangent of 2a. Again, these are 5 new identities that you need to learn. Now, if that wasn't enough, let's add on a couple more. Okay, we want to add on our half angle identities. Okay. Half angle identities. Now, if we were to look at, let's say, our half angle identities, sine of 1/2 of x and cosine of 1/2 of x, we are going to develop these using the second and third form of the cosine of 2a. Okay, so let's go back and remember the cosine of a plus b is the cosine of a cosine of b minus sine of a sine of b. And we learned our identity that said the cosine of 2a is 1 minus 2 sine squared a when we plugged different things in, which tells me that if I solve this for the sine of a, the sine squared of a is 1 minus the cosine of 2a over 2. So if I solve for the sine and take the square root, I get the sine of a is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of 2a over 2. Now, instead of a, let's replace x over 2. So I get the sine of x over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of x over 2. That is one of my new identities. Likewise, the cosine of x over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of x over 2. These are two more identities, I believe, identity 6 and 7. These are our half angle identities, x over 2, sine of x over 2, and cosine of x over 2. Okay, these are more identities that we will be using. We will continue to develop more identities later, but again, these are ones that you need to know. These are all on your sheet. So it's a short video, so you can spend the rest of your time memorizing these. Have fun!